I just noticed behind me John Deere tractors. I know a lot about John Deere. I love the company. But as you know, they've announced a few days ago that they're going to move a lot of their manufacturing business to Mexico. I'm just notifying John Deere right now. If you do that, we're putting a 200% tariff on everything that you want to sell into the United States.
An unprecedented announcement has just shaken the foundations of the global auto industry. During a campaign rally in Detroit, former President Donald Trump declared his intention to impose a 200% import tariff on vehicles manufactured outside the United States, specifically those produced in Mexico and key Asian countries. The proposal, framed as a bold move to restore American manufacturing, has ignited fierce debate across boardrooms, political circles, and international trade forums. According to Trump, the measure is designed to bring jobs back to U.S. soil and rebalance trade terms he claims have long disadvantaged American workers. But as markets react and automakers scramble to assess the implications, the question remains: is this the return of protectionism, or the beginning of a new industrial strategy? And if you want to stay informed on the unfolding impact of this major policy shift, keep watching as we break down what this could mean for America and the world. The former president's latest move has sent shockwaves through the industrial heartland. In a fiery campaign rally in Iowa, Donald Trump directly called out John Deere by name, condemning the company's recent decision to expand manufacturing operations in Mexico. He declared his intention to impose a 200% tariff on any Deere equipment produced outside U.S. borders. Trump argued that this was not just about trade, it was about loyalty. They build an empire here, using American workers, he said. Now, they want to move those jobs abroad and expect to sell the same machines back to us? That's not going to happen. This marked a significant escalation from his previous trade rhetoric. While Trump had long criticized outsourcing, this was the first time he had singled out a major U.S. manufacturer by name in a direct economic threat. The industry braced for impact, and all eyes turned to John Deere's leadership. Analysts noted that while political pressure may score rhetorical points, targeting a legacy company like Deere risked disrupting a deeply integrated manufacturing base. What made this moment especially volatile was not just the threat of tariffs, but the message it sent to every American company with operations abroad. Would Deere back down? Would other corporations be next? The confrontation had begun, and its consequences were already spreading. John Deere's response was measured but unmistakably firm. In a carefully worded statement, the company confirmed its $55 million investment in a Mexican manufacturing site focused on compact construction equipment. At the same time, it underscored that more than 90% of its North American production would remain in the United States. CEO John May, though absent from public appearances, was reportedly in active discussions with board members and policymakers. Sources familiar with Deere's internal strategy say the company views the Mexico plant as part of a diversified global footprint, not a pivot away from U.S. jobs. Behind the scenes, Deere's lobbying operation worked to calm lawmakers and protect existing federal contracts. The company's defenders in Congress highlighted Deere's role as a vital employer and innovator, particularly in precision agriculture and autonomous farming. Still, Trump's remarks had injected political uncertainty into Deere's long-term strategy. Internally, executives feared reputational damage in rural states where loyalty to both Trump and Deere runs deep. The balancing act was delicate: defend global competitiveness without triggering a backlash from American workers or elected officials. As political heat intensified, what had begun as a campaign soundbite had morphed into a high-stakes test of corporate resolve. The rhetoric in Washington was loud, but its impact was quietly reverberating through factory floors in places like Iowa, Illinois, and Georgia. These communities, home to John Deere's largest plants, were already facing the pressures of inflation, supply chain volatility, and evolving farm technology. Now, workers found themselves in the center of a national political dispute. At the Dubuque Works facility in Iowa, union members described a shift in morale. Although no layoffs have been announced, the mere prospect of disruption rattled employees. Some worried that political pressure might lead to suspended expansion plans or delays in future hiring. "We've been through trade fights before," one machinist said, "but this one feels personal." City officials in Moline, Illinois, home to Deere's global headquarters, held meetings to assess potential budget risks if sales slowed or production realigned. Local businesses dependent on Deere contracts began to seek contingency plans. Even in Georgia, where Deere operates growing logistics operations, the uncertainty crept into conversations about regional investment. What had seemed like a stable economic anchor was now under political scrutiny. And while no jobs have been lost yet, the sense of vulnerability was spreading. For many in these towns, the question was no longer hypothetical. What happens if Trump's tariffs become reality? The international fallout from Trump's comments came swiftly. In Mexico, officials pushed back, citing the USMCA trade agreement, negotiated under Trump's first term, as ground for legal challenge. One senior Mexican diplomat warned that penalizing U.S. companies for legally operating in Mexico set a dangerous precedent. In South America, where John Deere has invested heavily in Brazil and Argentina, industry partners raised alarms. Distributors feared that if the company became politically constrained in the U.S., deliveries abroad could face delays or pricing instability. Back in Washington, the divide was sharp. Trump loyalists praised his hardline stance, arguing that American jobs must come first. But a group of Midwestern lawmakers warned that the U.S. risked punishing one of its most iconic brands. The markets reacted with caution. Deere's stock dipped on news of the speech, then stabilized following reassurances about U.S. operations. Yet investors remained wary. In a volatile election season, few wanted to place big bets on companies at the center of political controversy. The message to the business world was clear: even legacy firms aren't off limits. And in an era where policy can shift overnight, global strategy must now include domestic political risk. The broader lesson from the Deere-Trump clash may not lie in a single plant or tariff, but in how American industry responds to geopolitical volatility. Deere's choice to diversify operations, both for economic efficiency and market proximity, is a playbook used by multinationals across sectors, but it's increasingly at odds with political narratives centered on domestic production. If pressure intensifies, some companies may consider reshoring, but only if automation offsets the cost. Industry experts warn that the return of manufacturing to U.S. soil doesn't guarantee job growth. Robotics, AI-driven logistics, and precision systems mean that even domestic plants need fewer workers. Moreover, Deere's global reach, from precision tractors in India to smart irrigation systems in Argentina, means it cannot afford isolationism. The danger for the U.S. is that a rigid, punitive trade posture may drive innovation and talent abroad. In boardrooms, legal teams are already preparing scenario plans. What if tariffs extend beyond Mexico? What if other countries retaliate? What happens if political backlash becomes consumer backlash? The Trump-Deere confrontation is a signpost. Whether it leads to new industrial policy or unintended fragmentation depends on how both sides and the public choose to respond. The clash between Donald Trump and John Deere is no longer just about tariffs or factory locations. It has evolved into a reflection of the deeper tension between economic populism and global business strategy. For workers, investors, and policymakers, this moment poses hard questions. Can U.S. manufacturing thrive in a global economy without compromise? And how much political intervention is too much? While Trump's push may rally support from parts of the electorate, it also risks destabilizing companies that have long balanced domestic presence with international growth. Deere's situation shows how quickly a business decision can become a political flashpoint. The answers won't come easily, but one thing is certain. This confrontation has sparked a conversation about the future of American industry that won't fade quietly. We'll continue monitoring developments and return with further analysis as this story unfolds.